Hey, so it's been a while since I shot anything, because when I get into the garage and start working on something, I'm usually about halfway through it before I go, hey, this would have been a really good video topic. So anyway, I'm going to do a quick walk around to the car in its current state, and then going to get into removing the exhaust system and the rear suspension so I can pull the transaxle out, because the dang on car doesn't start well when there's any sort of temperature in it at all. And I got to try and figure that out. I think there may be some sort of mechanical binding due to the transaxle not being perfectly aligned with the engine. That's just a suspicion right now. I don't know if it's true, but I'm gonna have to dig into it and find out. So here we go. Oh yeah, I did say I was gonna do a little walk around first. So before the challenge last year, I sprayed these 6 stripes on with some matte white spray paint and a couple rolls of masking tape. I think it looks sick. My goal was, with the dimensions of the stripes and the style of the stripes, was to emulate things that were done in the 60s, and also to give the event decals background to pop off of so they'd photograph better. It was nice to feel like I had the car running and driving good enough that I could worry about cosmetics a little bit, and you know, show some respect for the GRM people who put on the event every year. But blew up the engine on the first autocross run of the event, and then the car sat outside a little bit, and see all that surface rust. It's a good indicator that you should spray paint stuff when you do it, instead of waiting until it gets all rusty and crappy. But yeah, that's one of the things we're going to deal with later. I'm not going to worry about that today. Today is just going to be getting the exhaust system out, getting the rear suspension out, and getting the transaxle out. If I make it that far, that would be beauty. And then I'm going to have to put the exhaust system back in so that I can run the engine, at least start and stop it several times, and observe the nose of the starter jumping out, and seeing how it's engaging with the flywheel. Make sure the flywheel's not doing anything eccentric relative to the crankshaft, all that sort of stuff. I hope I'm able to figure something out. Yeah, so right in there is where the nose of the starter pops through, and it's mounted to the front of the adapter plate. So without the bell housing in place, I'll be able to see how the nose of the starter has clearance to everything, as well as when the Bendix kicks forward and engages the starter drive gear to the flywheel. Be able to take a look at that and make sure I'm not jamming it up anywhere in there, and look for any other sorts of problems I might have. Start it, let the engine run for a bit, and you know, see without the transaxle in place, does that have any effect on how it starts with a little temperature in it, because that will tell me whether I'm dealing with some sort of issue with the transaxle, or if it's a problem with maybe just the starter. The Audi 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo starter with an Audi sized flywheel ring gear is just not enough mechanical advantage to start the 5.7 liter Chevy V8 engine with when it gets warm. I don't know, fuck, we'll find out. Cool, that's it for this. I'm probably going to go ahead and get into doing some work now. Alright, so next up I got to remove the exhaust system. I'm going to disconnect the V-bands on either side, The X-pipe is not welded at either of the muffler attachments, so they're not really attachments, more than just slip fits at this time. The reason I have not welded them yet is because it makes it a lot easier to take it out of the car when I can still move that around, manipulate, change the angles and such. And then there's a hanger on each side, on each muffler body, and then there's a hanger in the center that I'm going to revise someday, but not yet. I'm going to change it so that it supports the mufflers independently. Then I'm going to add V-bands on each one of these joints between the mufflers and the X-pipe so that it's easier to disassemble and reassemble. But that's for another time. Right now I got to clean up the floor, because when you got a small shop, it makes it a lot more pleasant to work in when you keep it clean. And I got a big pile of sweepings over there from all sorts of things that needs to disappear. So I'm going to make that happen right now. So let me give you a little bit better view of what I'm struggling with here. Not really a struggle, it's just awkward to get to. You follow that extension all the way in, and you can see in the inner CV there's an 8mm hex Allen socket head cap screw, I guess is the official name. But anyway, an Allen bolt, as most people would call it. And there are 6 of them that secure each one of the inner CVs to the output flanges on the sides of the transaxle. And those are what I'm getting out now. And now, since my garage faces west and the sun is shining, the light might be troublesome for the video, so I gotta hang up my combination shade and well, it's not really a combination, it's just a shade thing. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. And now with that done, I can get back to working on the car. Because I'm super slick off camera, I already detached everything on the driver's side that needs to be detached. If you look way in there, you can see the half shaft is already undone, as well as the upper control arm. There's just 2 bolts, one through there, one through there. And then the upper shock mount that is attached to the frame with 2 M10 bolts, 13mm heads. So, and then take the brake caliper off of the knuckle and hang it up so you don't have to open the hydraulics. And with those things detached, the entire rear suspension will drop out of the car. So I'm going to go back to the other side and take those things loose and then drop the suspension out. Hooray! So yeah, there you have it. That's what it takes to get the C5 rear suspension out of your 1965 Corvair. Woohoo! If you're awesome enough to have one, that is. Yeah, man. The trans jack, or actually, it's not even a trans jack. It's a motorcycle jack. They call it used tool off of Craigslist. Woo! That makes things easy. And yeah, like I said, that's all it takes, man. Upper control arm, bolts, 2 places, upper shock mount, 2 bolts, and then 6 fasteners on each one of the inner CVs, and then 4 big studs that hold the cross member into the subframe, I should say, into the vehicle. And the rest of it just drops out. If you're asking yourself what happened to springs, well, Corvette, C5 generation Corvette. I don't know about all the recent ones, but I know for sure that the C5 is a transverse leaf, fiberglass, or some kind of composite material. Anyway, yeah, cool. And anybody who knows me knows that I love using my whiteboards to track what's happening in the garage. So today started at 12:45, and that was dead start, from jacking the car up, putting the jack stands under it, everything else involved, including shooting a bunch of segments of video so that I could put it all together here. Done at 4:30 p.m. And that's where I'm going to end this video. We'll call it part 1, I suppose. Dropping the suspension out in preparation for pulling the transaxle out. Like I said earlier, got to do some testing with the starter to flywheel interface, see if the transaxle is causing any of the mechanical drag that's causing it to be really difficult to start once there's a little bit of temperature in things, like maybe some misalignment between the input shaft of the trans and the pilot bushing, and the pilot bearing, I should say, in the flywheel, that is causing it to bind up. It gets hot and then it binds up worse, and then I'm cranking the transaxle. I don't know. I have no idea. But I'm going to find out, and that's where we're ending it. See ya.